Good morning, students. Let us start with our next chapter in EVS Part 2. The name of the chapter is Beginning of Settled Life. In the previous chapter, we learnt about how the Stone Age man moved from shelters to village settlements. In this chapter, we will learn about how we began to live a settled life. We are going to divide this chapter in 5 parts. The first one is beginning of domestication of animals and agriculture. Second, special skills and various occupations. Third, community life based on mutual cooperation. Fourth, structure of houses. And the fifth one is village settlements, kinship and family. So let us begin with 8.1, that is beginning of domestication of animals and agriculture. Okay, so let us study about domestication of animals. Now as you can see in the slide, the animals that were domesticated were dog, goat, sheep, cattle, buffalo, etc. And they were useful to man in many ways. Now there are three main steps in the domestication of a species of any animal. The first one is to capture of the wild animals. Second, taming the captured animals, that is, training them to live with humans. And the third is obtaining useful materials like milk, etc. for them and training them to work. As you can see in the slide, they are trained them to work for humans as beasts of burden. Now, when the third step is achieved, the animal is supposed to be completely domesticated. Domesticating animals and keeping them for our own use is called animal husbandry. Okay, so domesticating animals, taking care of them and keeping them for our own use is called as animal husbandry. Okay. Then in the sixth lesson, we have seen that the dog was domesticated in the Middle Stone Age. The dog is the first animal to have been domesticated. Okay. Dogs were used to help with hunting. So in the Stone Age, in the Middle Stone Age, in the time of the Middle Stone Age, dogs were used to help with hunting. The goat and sheep were domesticated next. That means after dog, the next animals that were domesticated were goat and sheep. The next point is agriculture. Archaeological evidence is available to show that agriculture first began about 11,000 years ago. So they are saying that they started agriculture 11,000 years ago. Okay, so it first began in Israel and Iraq. Okay, women are credited to have started cultivation. As you can see in the slide, the women were the first to start growing crops, to start with agriculture. They might have used pointed sticks to sow seeds. As you can see in the slide, they used that stick to sow seeds. Women in some tribes still sow seeds by this method. Okay, so in some places women still sow seed by digging with this stick. The stick was weighted using a perforated stone. Okay, the stick has a stone, as you can see in the picture, it has a stone around it. Okay, in the previous lesson we have learned that people had to stay in one place because of the nature of agricultural work. We had seen in the previous chapter that people had to mostly stay in one place because of agriculture. Okay? Agricultural production increased considerably after the plough pulled by animals came into use. Agriculture became the main source of livelihood. So the people staying over there, the main thing, the main purpose was the agriculture had become their main source of livelihood for them to live. Now, people began to worship nature and various deities for good crops. So they started worshipping nature for good crops. Essential things like sharing of agricultural tasks and water resources and the security of the village settlement gained importance. People in the village settlement established some rules and customs to manage these things. Okay, they made some rules. Thus, a social system based on agriculture came into existence. So, this was about the beginning of domestication of animals and agriculture. Okay, now we'll move to the second point, that is special skills and various occupations. So, in the times before agriculture, people obtained food such as meat, fruits, and roots by hunting and gathering. So, before agriculture, you all know that people used to go for hunting. As you can see in the picture, mostly people used to go for hunting, but could not store it for a long time. When they used to go for hunting, they could not store that food for a long time. Therefore, all the men and women in the community were continuously engaged in getting food. So they did not only depend on hunting. After slowly they started doing agricultural work. Okay. Then we'll see the next. In the agricultural system, it became possible to store food grains for longer periods. There was more food available that was needed by the community. Now, when you go for hunting, you can only eat that food at that time. But slowly when they started agricultural work, they could store the food grains and keep for the next days. Okay. Some women and men thus began to get spare time, okay, to get a free time for experimentation and for using their natural creativity to develop skills. Now you can see in the picture there is a woman making pots. So in their spare time, in the free time, they used to do this creativity to develop their special skills, that is making different types of pots. Members with such special skills were given work based on those skills. So whichever people or whoever were good in that skills, they were given that kind of work when they were free. Thus arose crafts like making earthen pots. Then they started making beads, etc. Different thing which people were interested in doing. It is believed that in the new Stone Age, women made earthen pots and other earthen objects by hand. Okay, everything they used to make by hand. As you can see in the picture, the woman is making a pot by using her hand. The next is the third point, community life based on mutual cooperation. So, The farmers in the village settlement were now producing surplus food, means more food. Why? Because they were engaged in agriculture. They needed skilled craftsmen for task. That means good people who were good at working for tasks like making agricultural implements and repairing them. Okay, making different agricultural implements, and if that implement is not working or something has happened to that, you can repair it. So they wanted people. Such craftsmen were paid in the form of food grains. So they wanted craftsmen and they were paid in form of food grains. They were given food grains or other articles. The craftsmen needed to obtain their raw material from long distances. The price of this raw material was also paid in the form of food grains or articles, etc. Okay, so these craftsmen, what they needed to do, they needed to bring the raw material, any material required. They had to bring that raw material from far places. Okay, and when they used to bring those raw materials, any things required, they were paid in the form of food grains. Okay, thus the barter system of buying and selling was established. Okay, they were bringing the raw materials and they were getting paid by the people, okay, for whom they were working. So that is called as the barter system of buying and selling was established. The barter system also began to be used when there was a need to obtain raw materials, finished objects, other articles of daily use, etc. from other places, right? They were bringing things from other places, giving to them, and in return they were getting food grains for them. Okay, next, salt. Salt is an essential item. Now, as you all know, salt is a very important item in our food, right? So it is an essential item. Most of the village settlements needed to obtain it from far away places. So they wanted salt, but it was very far. So they had to obtain it, they had to bring it from far places. Salt traders also traded articles they received in exchange of salt. The salt trade helped the expansion of trade in the New Stone Age. The village community made rules for mutual cooperation. Okay, the village community where they were living, they made certain rules in order to keep the system of trade and distribution of resources running smoothly. So for anything to run smoothly, you need to have some rules to be followed. People responsible for the implementation of these rules became the chiefs of village settlement. The chiefs were also entrusted with the protection of village. This is how the village administrative system came into being. So there were rules in the village settlement. That is why this village was running smoothly and people were listening. Okay. Evidence of protective walls and moats. Moats are deep, broad ditches or holes. Okay, moats. So evidence of protective walls and moats around the village settlement of the New Stone Age has been found in excavation. These walls were built to protect the village settlements from floods. Now you can see in the slide that there are walls being built. Now why these walls were built? These walls were built so that they could protect the village settlements from floods, from the water to enter in. Wild animals also from the floods, wild animals and outsiders. Outsiders means people, strangers who used to come in to steal things from them, like the cattle, the animals and all. So that is why these walls were being built. Okay. Next is 8.4 Structure of houses. Okay. The houses at the beginning of the New Stone Age were made of wattle and daub. Means the walls were screens. They were made from sticks or bamboos. Okay. In the New Stone Age, their walls were built of stick or bamboos, or they were plastered with mud. You can see in the picture, they were either made of sticks or bamboo, and then they were plastered with mud or cow dung. Okay. Later, the population of the village settlement grew because food was available in plenty. So their population started increasing. Why? There was plenty of food. The village settlements became permanent and expanded. As there was food, it became big, it started growing and it expanded. Okay. Still, later, people began to build quadrangular houses of sun-dried bricks. As you can see in the picture, how they started building houses. These were the type of houses they used to build. Some houses appear to have had more than one room. Okay, these houses had even more than one room. The houses were built very close to each other. As you can see in the picture, these houses were built very close to each other. Regional differences are seen in the styles of constructing houses depending on the climate. Okay, depending on the climate, they used to build that kind of houses. Next is 8.5 Village settlement, kinship and family. Now, it appears from the plans of the houses and the village settlements that people staying there belonged to a single clan. It means that they were all related to one another. Single clan means they were all related to one another. Thus, the entire village settlement was an extended family. Okay, that was a big family. People living in one house were close relations, but they were also members of the extended village family. Okay. Next, a dead person was buried either in the house or in the courtyard. Okay, there was a rule that if anyone used to die, the dead person was buried either in the house or in the courtyard outside the house. Perhaps, courtyard means in front of the house. Perhaps the idea was that the person's bond with the family should not get cut off even after death. Now, as you can see in the picture, they used to either bury in the house or in the courtyard, that is in front of the house. Now, why they used to bury? It is because that the person's bond, what he has made with the family, should not get cut off, okay, even after dying. Families would also bury various articles. You can see in the second picture, they used to also bury the dead body as well as the different articles with the dead person for them to use even after death. So what they thought, that when they bury the dead person, they also buried the articles which that person used to like, okay, even after death. Okay, so here we end the chapter. Your homework is dash, for the first one is dash accredited to have started cultivation. Second, they use dash sticks to sow seeds. And the last is what is animal husbandry. So here your chapter ends. We will learn the next chapter in the next video. Thank you for listening, children. Goodbye. Take care.